Let's be honest. Most people don't wake up and say, "Today, I'm going to hold on to every little thing that drains my soul." But somehow, by 10 a.m., we're already mentally juggling 18 conversations that never happened, 6 outcomes that haven't arrived, and 3 people we wish we'd never texted back. It's wild how we convince ourselves we're moving forward when we're actually just dragging things that should have been dropped months ago. You ever walk around your house carrying something for so long, you forget you're still holding it? Like a coffee mug, your phone, or that emotional trauma from 2017? Yeah, that last one sticks. And that's the point. Most of us are carrying things emotionally the same way we carry stress in our shoulders. Unconsciously, constantly, and eventually, painfully. But here's where it gets real. You don't change your life by adding more. You change it by subtracting what doesn't serve you anymore. That's the thing nobody tells you. They sell you vision boards and morning routines and 10-step productivity hacks. But no one hands you a pair of scissors and says, "Cut this loose. It's been weighing you down for too long." Letting go isn't passive. It's not weak. It's the most active thing you can do for your future, because every moment you hold on to something you've outgrown, whether it's a relationship, a role, or a story you've been telling yourself, you delay the version of you that's waiting on the other side. You're not stuck. You're just too loyal to a version of your life that's no longer working. And the longer you hold it, the heavier it gets. But don't worry, you're not the only one. We all cling to things. It's a survival reflex. Even if something hurts us, if it's familiar, we hold on, because at least we know the pain. Letting go, that requires trust in life, in timing, in yourself. And yeah, it's scary, but so is staying exactly where you are. The truth is, letting go isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending something didn't happen or acting like you were never hurt. Letting go is simply choosing not to carry it into tomorrow. And that decision, it's powerful. Most people think holding on makes them strong. Like, look how much I can tolerate. Look how much I can carry. But strength isn't in endurance. It's in the courage to put things down. Think about it. We glorify pain endurance, working through burnout, staying in draining relationships, tolerating disrespect like it's a badge of honor. But nobody hands out trophies for emotional baggage. You don't get a medal for being the last one to walk away from a situation that's been breaking you for months. In fact, the longer you carry it, the more invisible you become to yourself. Because holding on doesn't just weigh you down. It reshapes you, slowly, quietly. You start shrinking parts of yourself to fit situations that don't even fit you anymore. You start second-guessing your needs. You start apologizing for your boundaries. You start calling survival growth. But deep down you know it isn't. And here's the kicker. While you're out here holding on to the version of life you think you're supposed to keep, you're missing the version that's been trying to find you. Letting go isn't just about walking away. It's about creating space. Space for clarity, space for new energy, space for yourself. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is delete the message, leave it unread, say no without explaining, or just take a long, deep breath and choose not to respond. Letting go is less about an action and more about a decision. I'm not going to be available for what drains me anymore. And once you make that decision, your reality starts shifting without effort. Not because the world changed, but because you finally did. One of the hardest things about letting go is that there's no closure ceremony, no confetti drops, no wise monk shows up at your door with a scroll that says, "Congratulations, you've officially moved on." Most of the time, it's quiet. You just wake up one day and realize you don't want to fight for things that drain you anymore. You stop rereading the texts. You stop hoping they'll finally understand. You stop explaining your intentions to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And in that silence, where the noise used to live, you hear something new, yourself. But that's also where people get stuck. They confuse stillness with emptiness. And because we've been taught to equate letting go, with giving up, we panic. Like, if I stop trying, won't everything fall apart? But the real question is, if you keep trying in the same way, with the same people, under the same weight, won't you fall apart? Letting go isn't giving up. It's giving back everything that was never yours to hold in the first place. Other people's approval, their expectations, the role you were cast in, just to keep the peace. None of that belongs to you. It never did. And what happens when you release it? You get lighter, not just emotionally, but mentally. You stop overthinking every text. You stop rehearsing conversations that never happen. You stop bending your identity just to be understood. You realize you're not actually hard to love. You were just too busy performing love for people who didn't know how to hold it. And once you stop trying to be everything to everyone, something wild happens. The right people, they find you. Not the version of you that's stretched thin, hyper-available, emotionally exhausted, but the version of you that's whole, grounded, and done over-explaining your worth. Letting go is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of one where you're finally the main character, not just an unpaid emotional intern in someone else's plot. Sometimes the reason you haven't moved forward isn't because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you're still attached to how things should have gone. You ever notice how we don't just grieve what happened, we grieve what didn't? The relationship you almost had, the version of you that almost made it, the life that could have worked if only a few things were different. And so you keep one hand in the past, not because you love it, but because you haven't made peace with it yet. But here's what no one tells you. That version of life you're mourning, it wasn't your path. If it was meant to build you, it wouldn't have been based on begging. If it was meant for peace, it wouldn't have come with that much anxiety. You can't be who you're meant to be while holding on to who you used to be for survival. And yet we try. We revisit situations in our mind like we're going to rewrite them by overthinking. We fantasize about closure, like it's going to make the pain prettier. But truth is, closure is rarely given. It's chosen. You don't need a final conversation to let go. You just need a final decision. And that's where the power is. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to no longer negotiate it. There comes a point where holding on becomes more painful than letting go. And ironically, that's when everything starts to shift. Not because something magical happens, but because you finally stop resisting what's already true. The weight leaves when you do, not when they apologize, not when life gives you back what it took, but when you finally decide to stop carrying what was never yours to keep. Letting go isn't about fixing anything. It's about freeing yourself from the pressure to fix it at all, because the more you let go, the more you realize your peace was never lost. It was just buried under all the things you convinced yourself you needed to hold. Letting go doesn't always look poetic. Sometimes it looks like not replying. Sometimes it looks like turning off your phone at 8 p.m. Sometimes it looks like quietly distancing yourself from people who've had too much access to your energy for too long. There's no dramatic farewell, no grand exit, just small, subtle moments where you start choosing peace over chaos and alignment over approval. And that's when something unexpected happens. You stop chasing and start attracting, because the version of you that was always available, always explaining, always managing everyone else's feelings, that version was blocking what was meant for you. You were so busy trying to be chosen that you forgot you get to choose too. You don't need to beg for space in anyone's life. You don't need to overextend just to prove you're worthy. And you definitely don't need to show up 10 times harder just because someone else only knows how to meet you halfway. When you let go of the idea that love has to be earned, you stop performing and start living. You realize that real connection doesn't drain you, it supports you. It doesn't require self-abandonment, it welcomes your wholeness, and that's when you start attracting differently. Letting go clears the signal. It tells the world and yourself that your energy is sacred, that your time is valuable, that your peace is non-negotiable. And the people who respect that, they stay. The ones who don't, they quietly fall away. And that's the gift. Letting go isn't loss. It's alignment. It's not about giving up. It's about giving yourself back to yourself. And once that happens, once you stop watering things that don't grow you, you'll realize you never needed more effort. You just needed less attachment. Letting go isn't just about people. It's about the identities we cling to, the stories we repeat, the invisible rules we live by, often without questioning them. You might not realize it, but some of the most exhausting things you're carrying aren't even visible. It's the pressure to always be strong, the belief that rest equals laziness, the silent expectation to always be okay, even when you're clearly not. And it's subtle. This performance of stability, this habit of showing up with a smile when your soul's running on fumes. But here's the truth. You can let go of the idea that healing has to look graceful. You can let go of the pressure to constantly improve. You can let go of the narrative that says your worth is tied to how much you give, fix, or endure. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause, not to quit, but to breathe. To remember that being available to yourself is more important than being available to the world. You weren't meant to run on emotional overdraft. You weren't built to carry every weight just because you're strong enough to do it. At some point, you have to ask, is this mine? Or did I pick it up because no one else would? And if it isn't yours, if it's only slowing you down, burning you out, or dimming your light, then maybe the most loving thing you can do is let it go. Not out of resentment, but out of respect for who you're becoming. Letting go doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're done pretending you're not tired, done shrinking, done settling. It means you're making space for clarity, for calm, for the version of you that doesn't apologize for choosing peace over pressure. Because peace isn't passive. It's a decision you have to keep making, especially in a world that benefits from your burnout. So many people wait for life to feel lighter, but they never stop to ask what they're still holding. They assume the answer is in adding something, another routine, another mindset hack, another push to be better. But the real shift, it's almost always in subtraction, letting go of what exhausts you, of what no longer aligns, of what's already over, but still living rent-free in your nervous system. Growth doesn't always look like hustle. Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it looks like saying less and meaning more. You don't owe your energy to everything that asks for it. You don't have to explain the space you're taking to recalibrate. And you don't need to feel guilty for outgrowing things that no longer fit the version of you that's evolving. Because the moment you stop clinging, you create room, and that room becomes your reset. Letting go won't fix everything overnight, but it will remove the noise that's been blocking your clarity. And from that clarity, life starts responding differently. Not because it suddenly changed, but because you finally did. You want to know what's underrated? Letting go before it breaks you. Not after you've hit the wall, not after the anxiety spike, the third sleepless night, or the conversation that leaves you spiraling again. But when your gut whispers, this isn't it anymore, and you actually listen. Because the truth is, the longer you ignore that whisper, the louder life has to get to shake you awake. Sometimes it'll take your peace, sometimes it'll take your health, and sometimes it'll just leave you feeling like a stranger in your own life. But you don't have to wait for everything to fall apart to set yourself free. Freedom doesn't come from control, it comes from clarity, the kind that shows up when you stop managing chaos and start protecting your energy. And maybe that's what this moment is. Not a breakdown, not a loss, not a failure, but a signal that it's time to make space for something better, something quieter, something that doesn't require you to sacrifice your whole self just to be seen. So take that space, take your time back, take your energy off the things that never gave back, because the minute you let go of what drains you, you start becoming magnetic to what restores you. And if you made it here, all the way to the end, then you're not just casually watching, you're ready. If you're done carrying what doesn't belong to you anymore, drop this in the comments. I'm not a storage unit. Because you're not. You're not built to store pain, opinions, regrets, or expired expectations. You're here to live. Lightly, honestly, and free. And if this message hit even a little bit, share it, like it, or send it to someone who's been carrying too much for too long. You never know who needs the permission to finally let go.